Several news sources tell the world about terrible events. A powerful strain of flu is slowly killing everyone on Earth, and doctors can't stop it from spreading. This could be the end of the world, so the World Health Organization is starting to build 500,000 underground bunks to choose who gets to live there. There's a lottery, and the people who win get to live 6 years later. These people still live in these underground bunkers that can take care of themselves. One person lives in each bunker, and the only way they can talk to each other is through a computer that lets them video chat in groups of up to 7. Their food comes in the form of a powder shake that has all the nutrients they need. A machine that makes it look like day and night helps them sleep normally, and a rowing machine gives them energy and helps them get in shape. A group of 7 refugees who have been living together for the past few years are fighting today. Orlando has admitted that he was a serial killer before the pandemic. The others are disgusted by his admission that he's never quite fit in. Orlando, on the other hand, doesn't feel ashamed. Instead, he keeps making fun of them and taunting them, like by telling Atlanta that her kids are probably dead out there.
Dead with everyone. How dare you? Too far, man.
This is definitely going too far. So, Boston, who is in charge of the group, suggests that Orlando be kicked out of the communication. It's hard to decide because once someone is kicked out, they can't come back. Even though Orlando doesn't seem to mind Boston being there, Atlanta and Chicago vote for it. But Phoenix doesn't want to put someone in this situation on their own. Denver, her boyfriend, always backs her up, and Houston won't be the last vote. Tired of the act, Orlando asks to be unplugged, and he keeps teasing them about how bad their future will be. So Denver gives in to what the others want and unplugs them in the evening. Phoenix can't fall asleep, so Denver calls her to have a private talk. She says it's hard for her to judge other people for their mistakes. So Denver tells her that Orlando is still fine in his bunker in Florida. He can't talk to them at all. After saying I love you and putting their hands together on the screen, they both go back to bed. After 8 months, Phoenix can't sleep because she keeps having dreams about her mother, and Houston's sleep cycle is off because something is wrong with his system. This morning, everyone is in a bad mood, so fights break out, but Atlanta just ignores them and goes to pray. For once, Phoenix also decides to pray. Then, they read the daily statistics. After checking their own health, they look at the number of bunkers, which has gone down from 500,000 to less than 490,000. This means that about 6 bunkers are lost every day. Chicago doesn't see any reason to keep track of the numbers on the screen, and when another argument starts, he stops it by playing the instructional video for the bunkers. Nadine, who made the bunker in the first place, is showing them how to use it, but no one is paying attention because they've seen this video 1,000 times already.
Aw, shit, no, man.
I'm out. I'll see you in like 5 minutes.
That night, Phoenix and Denver show up on each other's screens next to their beds. Before going to sleep, they practice using their real names instead of their locations. The next day, everyone's stats screens start to act up before they shut down completely. Houston's sleep cycle program is also not working right, and Phoenix is worried that they might have broken something when they banded Orlando. The others don't think it's a good idea to bring him back, and Denver doesn't think he can do it anyway. This makes Phoenix angry, so she decides to ignore her friends. Denver sends her a private message to let her know that he only wants to help. So Phoenix finally tells him what happened to her. Her mother died long before the pandemic hit, and Phoenix was in jail when she won the lottery. Her dad died when she was young, so she never got to meet him. So her mother raised her alone, but Phoenix didn't see her much because she had to work as a teenager. Phoenix started hanging out with bad people and using drugs, which led her to lie and steal a lot. She ran away when she was 17 and came back after a year. But she never went back again. One night, she was drunk and paranoid because she thought her mother had taken her stash, so she got a knife from the kitchen and killed her. Later, she found her stash in her room where she had left it. Now Denver knows why Phoenix has never liked the idea of banning Orlando, even though he doesn't think their crimes are at all the same. He decides to start trying to lift the ban to make her feel better. It takes him a long time, and it's late at night by the time he gets it to work. But when he puts Orlando's feet back on, they find his hiding place. They tell the others, and Boston gets mad that Denver and Phoenix did something behind their backs. Houston starts freaking out irrationally because he thinks Orlando might be the one messing with his sleep cycle.
These are supposed to be on all the time.
That's it, guys.
Phoenix, on the other hand, thinks Orlando might have just been trying to get away. Atlanta says the doors are closed and locked, But the truth is that since they got to the bunkers, no one has even tried the doors. Phoenix thinks about opening her own door, but the others tell her that would be a bad idea because the virus could get in. After a while, Phoenix and Boston talk about the whole thing in private. Phoenix thinks it's about time the group's leader changed, and Boston thinks she sounds more and more like Denver, who he thinks is a creep every day. Denver is like Boston's dad in that he seems nice on the outside, but it's all an act to hide the fact that he could turn into a monster when he snaps. Phoenix thinks he's making it up, and she's sure she knows Denver well enough to know he's a good person. But after the conversation is over, she still feels a little bit nervous, so she watches some old videos of herself having fun in Denver. When Phoenix watches these private videos again, he starts to wonder if Orlando has any videos of his own, so she has Denver try to get in touch with them. Denver does this, and the first few logs he finds are normal, Orlando just going about his daily life. The last one, on the other hand, is pretty scary. Orlando is working out, but all of a sudden, the screen is full of static and Orlando's screams can be heard. Leave me. When the noise stops and his bunker comes back into view, it is empty and the door is open. The video runs for 5 hours, so Denver skips to the end quickly, only to see the door close. When they tell the others, Houston starts talking incoherently about how Orlando is a mastermind who sent them to the bunkers, even though they lied about the pandemic. Boston thinks that the video might be fake, which doesn't make any sense. So, while everyone fights, Phoenix says they should try to get out of the bunkers because it's clear they aren't safe. As usual, Boston wants them to vote on it, but Houston isn't saying so. Atlanta doesn't think now is a good time to make a choice. Later that night, Phoenix starts to look in more detail at every part of the bunker. She finds a small panel on the wall and tries to take it off. The computer suddenly shows everyone that Houston is hitting his head over and over against the wall, and then he starts laughing hysterically as he spreads the blood around. When he finally goes crazy in the middle of the room, someone walks into the bunker just as the screen starts to go crazy with static. A few seconds later, the feed goes back to normal and shows that this bunker is also now empty. Phoenix runs to the door to see if anyone is outside, but there's no one there. Boston has to admit that they're no longer safe. After telling Denver about her worries, Phoenix goes to sleep, only to wake up when she hears someone come into her bunker. The good news is that it was all a dream, and when she wakes up, she finds a rat on her. It looks like the little guy pushed the door open. She was acting more relaxed yesterday, so Phoenix decides to see what's going on. It says emergency vent on the panel, but when she puts her hand in the hole, she finds nothing. The others check their walls and find the same panel with nothing behind it, which doesn't make sense since they're supposed to be underground again. Another fight starts. Phoenix takes charge of the group and tells Denver to use the computer to see if he can get in touch with other survivors while the rest of them look more closely around the bunker for possible ways out. Chicago, on the other hand, thinks they should do nothing and wait it out so he doesn't have to join the search. No one can find any clues, so Atlanta decides to take a chance and break the pipe that brings in the shake powder to see where it leads. She finds nothing behind the hole in the wall, though, just like she did with the panel, just a big void. At that moment, her screen starts to fill with static as someone walks into her bunker, and the same thing happens again. The screen goes back to normal after a few seconds, and Atlanta is gone. No longer being able to take this, Chicago takes away his blanket, which shows where he's been hiding the shake powder he's been using to star himself. Then he hangs the blanket on a pipe and uses it to kill himself, leaving only Phoenix, Denver, and Boston alive.
My God.
Denver talks about what he's found while looking around in the after taking a moment to put himself together. He was able to get into the logs of people outside of their group. Even though it's just video with no sound, most of them seem to be fine, but there are also a lot of deaths from people like Chicago who couldn't take being confined any longer. The most shocking news, though, is that Denver only found 1,000 feeds and not 500,000. This means that they were lied to and there are only 1,000 bunkers. Phoenix decides that she doesn't want to be taken away, so she comes up with the idea that they can use the broken panels to cut the door wires, even though this could leave them without food and water. After she and Denver decide where to meet if they get out, Boston asks for one more vote out of respect for tradition. They are now ready. They all cut the wires at the same time, which set off an alarm but also let them open the doors. The stairs outside don't go anywhere, and for a moment, they think they're stuck until they realize that the wall with the stairs is also a door. When they open it, they'll be back where they started because they've been in the same building the whole time. After Phoenix and Denver share their first kiss, the three of them start looking into the place. They find that each door leads to a different bunker, which has always been next to the others. They finally find a door that leads to the roof of the building. Once there, they see that the city is running normally, as if there had never been a pandemic. The only exit is blocked by 2 guards, so Boston distracts them so his friends can get out. Phoenix, on the other hand, wants answers, so she and Denver go into a different part of the building. When they find one with a lot of papers in it, Phoenix starts looking through it. Denver finds a board with pictures of their group as prisoners. So, all of a sudden, Nadine finds them and points a gun at them to keep them in line because she knows Denver is very dangerous. Phoenix wants to know why they are doing this, so Dean says it is an experiment and that they are still in prison. It was all a lie about the pandemic. The news they saw on TV was made up of paid actors, and the prisoners were moved from their jails to the bunkers by giving them drugs. They have been taking people out of their bunkers because the experiment is coming to an end. People were angry that these prisoners were treated so well and had so much freedom because a video of the group banning Orlando was leaked on the internet and made it to the national news. So the government listened to their pleas, and soon everyone will be sent back to regular prison. Denver starts making fun of Nadine for lying, and she calls him her one. Each prisoner was chosen based on a program that tried to figure out how likely it was that they would tell their stories, so that Nadine could look at how each of them made up a new identity to fit into the group they were put in. Orlando had been in and out of prison his whole life for crimes, and he had already admitted to killing people. Houston was part of a gang and killed 20 people. Atlanta had depression after giving birth, and she ended up drowning. Chicago, one of her daughters, used drugs and worked on the streets. He killed many of his clients so he could rob them. Boston and his 2 brothers robbed a bank together. Then, Boston killed his brothers so he could keep all the money for himself. Last but not least, Denver followed and killed 11 women he met on online dating sites. Phoenix is disgusted by all of this, but Nadine says she did the right thing by giving them a better life than prison and a chance to forget the past and start something new. All of a sudden, more guards show up and TAS both of them, so Phoenix stays in her bunker and wakes up later. While she is in bed, a mysterious man comes up to her. Phoenix wakes up and finds out she was. Now that she and Denver are tied to chairs and can't move, they start talking about what happened. Phoenix can't believe she put her trust in Denver, but he tells her it's okay. He does love her as much as he loved the women he killed. Since she told him about her crime along with Orland's confession and his own past, he has been suspicious of the experiments. Denver hadn't had much trouble putting 2 and 2 together. He didn't say anything because he found it interesting and fun to watch everything happen. So Phoenix calls him a sociopath, and Denver agrees. After that, the guards take them back to the quarter where the rest of his group is waiting in front of their bunkers. As soon as he sees them, Orlando starts to point out their lies. Then he hits the guard behind him in order to take his gun. Sadly, this only makes the other guard shoot at him in self-defense, killing him. Then, the 5 people left from the original group are sent back to their bunkers until plans are made to send them back to their respective prisons. The body of Chicago is taken away, and all of his things are thrown away. But Phoenix finds a picture of her mother and the body of the dead rat in her room. And the story ends here. What do you think about this story? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and activating bell for notification until the next video. Thank you.